What is up, Twitch and YouTube? I hope you can all hear me okay. It's your boy Joe here, Joe's Cool 02, and we're back with another daily Advent of Code, Christmas themed coding challenge. So if it's your first day here, you've missed the first 3 days, you can go back and watch it. But don't worry. So what I'm doing is every single day, I'm basically treating it like it's the first task we're doing. I'm assuming you don't even know what Python is. I'm assuming you've never coded before. So I'm going to be explaining loads of basics over and over again, maybe every day until Christmas, but we'll see how hard these get. So yeah, it should be good if you're very early days to programming, basically. I'm just going to turn down my audio a little bit. But yeah, let me know if anything weird goes on. Let's see, what else is going on today? So today we're doing the Advent of Code 2020 Day 4. So Advent of Code every year is 25 coding challenges. They all have 2 parts. So normally the first part's a little bit easier, and then they'll sort of throw a twist at you that will punish you if you sort of cut too many corners in that first part. And the idea is, they'll give us a test input and we try and get the correct answer from these challenges. So it's really good if you've done, 5 to 10 hours of a programming language and you're looking for something a bit more technical, a bit more difficult, but also something, you're not trying to build a website, you're not trying to build some massive system. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Also today, a comedy / rock and roll / IT consultancy based in Manchester is doing a live streamed escape room made from the technology that they've built themselves. They've built something that lets people kind of join a Zoom room style thing, but lets them play through some sort of escape room scenes and lets them customize a green screen and add custom props. So think kind of like a comedy online escape room made by some amazing programmers. So that is at Escape the North. Escape the North. I'm going to send it in the Twitch chat. But if you Google Escape the North, it'll come up. Hi there, Martin. Thanks for joining. So I've sent the Twitter for Escape the North, and there's a Twitch on there. But let's get to it. So I'll be using something called REPL, which basically lets you spin up a number of different programming environments. You don't have to do this in Python. And it also means you don't have to install anything. You don't have to ask, how do I run Python code, R code? You can just do it straight in the browser. One of the benefits of 2020. So if you're very new to coding, feel free to go on repl.it, or if you go on the link I've just set, or if you're watching YouTube, it'll be in the description below. That'll be my attempt at this code that might be a bit more polished or a bit more finished, depending on how far we get. But yeah, we're going to do about 55 minutes of this. And yeah, I'll try and keep it really basic. So if you do have any questions in the chat, feel free to ask them. No stupid questions. If you don't know what a variable is, ask, and I'll try and explain it in a simple way. But yeah, it's more important to me that I answer those questions and finish the task. But if we finish the task, I'll be even happier. So Day 4, passport processing. So we arrive at the airport only to realise that we grabbed our North Pole credentials instead of our passport. While these documents are extremely similar, North Pole credentials aren't issued by a country and therefore aren't actually valid documentation for travel in most of the world. It seems like you're not the only one having problems though. A very long line has formed for the automatic passport scanners, and the delay could upset my travel itinerary. Due to some questionable network security, you realise you might be able to solve both of these problems at the same time. The automatic passport scanners are slow because they're having trouble detecting which passports have all required fields. The expected fields are as follows: birth year, issue year, expiration year, height, hair colour, eye colour, passport ID, and country ID. Passport data is validated in batch files, my puzzle input. So at the bottom we'll have a puzzle input that will look like this. Oh my gosh. This doesn't look good at all. So where were we? Validated by a bunch of files. Each passport is represented in a sequence of key value pairs separated by spaces or new lines. Passports are separated by blank lines. Okay, that's fine. Here's an example batch file containing 4 passports. So the order doesn't seem to matter, but every time there's a new line that separates a passport. So this is one passport, this is another, sorry, this is another passport. This is another passport, this is another passport. The first passport is valid, all 8 fields are present. The second passport is invalid as it's missing a field. The first passport is interesting, the only missing field is country ID, so it looks like data from North Pole credentials, not a passport at all. Surely nobody would mind if you made the system temporarily ignore missing country ID fields and treat this passport as valid. The fourth passport is missing birth year and country ID. Missing country ID is fine, but missing any other field is not, so the password is invalid. According to the rules above, your system would report 2 valid passports. Count the number of valid passports, those that have all required fields. Treat country ID as optional. Seems fine. So we could just check that something has 7 fields. That might kick us in the butt when we get to the second task. This one doesn't look too bad to me because I'm quite confident in sort of splitting strings. We use it loads in web development, so I'm not too worried. But to start with, I'm probably going to grab, we got a lot of stuff here, so we need to probably keep these expected fields. So I'm pasting those in, and if I highlight all this and I do Control/, or if you're on a Mac, do Command/, and then whatever language you're coding in will be commented. Yeah. If I get caught here doing this, obviously I will go to jail, straight to jail. Oh, by the way, I've set up Streamlabs now, so Matt, if you try following me and unfollowing me and following me again, it should make some cool GIFs come up or something like that. And I've fixed the donation links and stuff like that. Not that I expect any more donations from you, my best friend. But let's see. So we're expecting all those. There's a lot of comments here, really. And then this is going to be our test input. So I will put this into a text file at some point. I'll probably do it now, actually. So you can click here to add a file and do inputs.txt. I'm just going to paste that in there, but I'm going to leave it there for now and kind of forget about it. Right, so it's valid. What did it say? So the first... Which one is valid? Sorry, first is valid, second... There you go. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for following. Something will happen, but it might take a little bit of time, I think. So, first one's valid, second one's invalid, third one is valid. So I'm just going to write some notes to myself here, because these are kind of my test cases. Valid. Invalid. Okay. So I'm going to ignore them for now. What we need to do here is, this is kind of a bit too complicated for me to care about for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as a string. So I'm just going to call it a test case. Test equals. And I'm going to write this all as one line. And I'm going to put it all in like that. So in this REPL, we can press this play button and it'll execute our code on the left. So all these comments shouldn't do anything because they're comments. So this will be the first line of code that sort of runs and actually does something. In our Matsy world, you might read this as test is equal to, and then some big string. Doesn't really make much sense. We could say something like test equals 4. What we're doing here is test is a variable name, and it holds the value 4. So an example I've used the last few days is if you were moving houses and you packed up a box with all your kitchen stuff, you'd probably write on the front of that box kitchen, and in it you would have, you know, a kettle, some plates, some frying pans, all sorts of stuff. Now the benefit here is, you know, when you talk to your flatmates, you're not going to say, oh, can you pass me the box that has the kettle, the frying pans, 6 knives and forks, all that stuff. It doesn't really make any sense. You just say, pass me the kitchen box. I'm going to go put it in the kitchen. And that's exactly what we do in programming. So we have this variable that we might call kitchen or kitchen box. And we know that that contains loads of stuff. We can kind of trust that we named it in a good way. So here what I've done is I've written on my box test, and I put the value 4 inside it. So if we write 4 plus 4, we'll get 8. But at the same time, we could write test plus test, and that will give us 8. So we're kind of just referencing that value using the name test. So I'm going to run it again. I'm going to use it every day probably. I have to make these assumptions, man. Okay, so if I press test, it'll print out, or if I type test, it'll print out that string. So what I need to do is write some sort of function that's going to tell me if this string is a valid passport or not. So in this case, checking if it's a valid passport just means checking that it has, don't really need to care about the country ID, but we need to check it has all these other keys in it. So first I'm going to write something that will convert passport to dictionary. And that's going to take a passport as a string. And for now it's just going to return true. So done a lot of magic there. So def is the keyword define for defining a function. So the general form here will be def function name, round brackets to denote it as a function. Then in here you pass in any parameters as comma separated values. Parameter 1, parameter 2, and then you use a colon. So every time we use a keyword in Python, def, for loops, if statements, we always finish them up with a colon. Then we press enter, which should tab indent, and in here we can say we are in a function, and that will run. And alternatively, you can use return if you want to return a value. So that's normally a good pattern and sort of by definition how functions need to work. So if we run it now, I can access this function name, and if I press tab, it'll autocomplete it. It's expecting 2 parameters, but not using them, and I can run it like that. So in the same light, I can use my convert pass to dictionary, and I can give it anything I want, test string, and it will just return true. So that's a good place to be for now. What I actually want to do here is process this string in a way that's going to make it easy for me to read it into what's called a dictionary. Dictionary we've not talked about, so I'm going to talk about a dictionary now. So the dictionary can be defined like this. So we use these curly braces. And what we're actually doing here is when we write any variable, it's sort of inferring from the type of data we give it to what type this variable should be. So if I say x is 2, x knows that we can sort of add x to itself to make 4. It knows it's a number, and it knows we can add those numbers together, multiply those numbers, we can do all sorts of stuff with x. But if instead we said x is equal to cat in quotes, that makes it a string. And so now it's very different. If I say x plus x, that returns cat cat, doesn't give us 2 cats or something like that. So Python's trying to be clever here, it's trying to help us out. So if it sees x equals these curly braces, it knows it's a dictionary. We can call the type function to check that. Class dict, short for dictionary. And that means that we just have certain functions, certain things we can do with that dictionary that we can't do with other types. And it'll be very useful for this task. So what I'm going to do first is, as this is a string, it also has its own functions we can call on it using something called dot notation. So we can do test dot, and this will let us access any variables unique to that type or any functions. So there's one called split. We call it like this, and that will return a list with those separated by spaces, which is really, really useful for this task. So that's probably the first thing I'm going to do in here. Do passport.split, and that will return us these individual values. I'm going to call it, actually no, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to say for I don't know, prop in passport.split, and then colon. So this is going to create a prop variable. A dictionary is not like a box with the word kitchen on it. It's like, what is a dictionary like? It's a set of key and value pairs. So it's really useful if you want to make sort of like a profile on somebody where you had a dictionary that might refer to a teacher, and then you'll have keys in there like name, age, students, and all sorts of other stuff. Kind of like a mini database, if that makes sense for anyone, or is that just even worse? But we'll see. So for now, I'm going to print each of these props, and then I'm just going to return true. And then we need to call this function. So convert pass to dictionary, and then I'm just going to give it our test variable for now. So you can see it prints those things all out one at a time, which is great, but it's not quite what I want to do. So again, looking at just one of these, we can do blah, 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 blah. X equals that as a string. And again, we can use that really useful split function. So x.split, and in here, if we pass it a parameter, so I'm going to pass it the colon as a string, it's going to return a list with those two things separate, and that makes it, again, even more powerful. Now we have access exactly to the key name and the variable name. So I'm going to make use of that here. I'm going to say prop.split colon, and that's going to be, I'm just going to call it key value. The split function is out of this world. So now that we've done this, we can actually print those key values and access. This is now a list. So I'm going to, something else that I need to explain. So a list, oh no, okay. So what we've got here, that's actually quite useful. So what we've done there is we've printed the first thing from when we split that string. So we split this into two variables. This is a variable and this is a variable. Okay, we already know what a list is apparently. There is a third viewer, I don't know if they know what a list is, but we'll see. So now we can actually build up our dictionary. So let's say dict passport equals round brackets. So let's create an empty dictionary. Explain that list again. Nah, you've lost it now. I'll explain. I think it'll be okay. We'll get away with it. So in this dict passport, I can then do dict square brackets key value 0. So that will get the first part of each of these split strings. Equals, which will assign a value to that key. And then that one I'm going to do key value 1. I wonder if I can do... Not sure if this will work, but sometimes things work in Python when I don't expect them to. Paste, and if I do, what if I do key comma values? This would definitely work in JavaScript or some other languages. X.split, but it might just save me a line of code. Interesting. Okay, so that does work. So I can actually store this as two separate variables, comma separated, and then I don't need to refer to it with this like weird key value object. I can just do key value, and now if I print, I'm going to want to return this dict passport at the end, and I want to print it as well. So this will print my dictionary in a not very nice looking way. But there you go, so it's iterated over that and put them all in a dictionary with those keys and values. And why this is useful is because now we can refer to this. So if I say dict pass equals convert blah 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 blah, now I can call dict pass as an object. Even cooler than that, I can check for individual things. So I can say dict pass ECL for eye color, and that will return the value. So that's getting that gray from there. Also, we can check particular keys are in there. So we can do gray in dict pass. No, we can't. We can do eye color in dict pass. So this will check for a key with that name true, which is really cool because obviously our task is looking for us to check that there are certain things in there. So we could cut a corner here. We could delete the country ID if it exists and just check if we have 7 keys. If anything changes in the second part, like there are different keys we need to deal with, that's not going to work. But I'm going to give it a go. Let's see what happens if I delete the dict pass key country ID. And I just want to check that I can't do it twice. So if I print dict pass again, so country ID is now gone. I'm delete it again, that errors. So I can do if it's in there, delete it. If not, we don't have to worry about it. So we've now got our passport as a dictionary. So we don't need to print that anymore, but I'm pretty happy with all that. Split passport into key value pairs. And then I want another function that's going to just check if it's valid. Check pass. Check pass valid. And that's going to take our dict pass. And in here I'm going to say if country ID in dict pass, then I'm going to delete dict pass country ID because we've said it doesn't matter to us. Country ID, and then I'm going to check that its length is 7. So in here if I say dict pass, dot keys, so again this is a function of dictionaries that will return all the keys, which are the first elements in each of this comma separated values. And then we can check the length of that by wrapping this in a length function, len for length. It says it's 7, so actually that's enough to check if this passport's valid. So we can do return len dict pass dot keys equals 7. So equals is a Boolean comparison we're doing here. So if I just use equals, it might try and assign this value in a variable object to 7, which will just kind of overwrite whatever we had there. So that's not what we want to do. But we want to check if it's 7, which it is. And this function will now return true or false. So I'm going to do print this function, and we're going to pass it dict pass. So it should say true for this case, and it do. So next we need to stop looking at, oh no, I've just realized I've assumed that I don't need to worry about new lines, which I do need to worry about. But the other ones are separated by new lines. So it's going to be a little bit trickier, but that's okay. As with every day, I'm going to Google how to read. Oh, shoot. Python file as a string. I'm a little annoyed because this will be slightly different from the other one. So I don't want to use read lines. Just want to use read, and this should read the whole thing into a string, but I don't really know. So let's have a look. So I'm going to change this to inputs.txt, and that's going to read our data into here. I do data. Okay, data's got everything as a string now, and it's got new lines in there. So the problem is sometimes those new lines are, what did it say? Secrets key separated by spaces or new lines, but passports are separated by blank lines. So we need to be looking for blank lines in particular. Path file read text, will that do a string? What's that do? Python.read text. Python.read text. Python space.read text. I'm not really sure what that does, but if you have an explanation, whack it in the chat. Same as read wrapped in path. Fair enough. I'm always worried that path won't necessarily work, but I'm guessing REPL has thought about that before I have. So we've got this as a string. We're now looking for a way to separate the new lines between passports from the new lines within a passport. So if I look for height 180, so we can kind of see there's 2 new lines there. Is it safe to assume there's always 2 new lines? I think so. So that will represent a gap between 2 passports. Matt Ooey, that's fantastic. That's what I was thinking, and I think we can do that right here. Dot split. Is it /new/new? Whoa, it's pooping its pants. I'm pooping my pants. Repel's pooping his pants. Let's get poops in chat. Poops pants. Is that the wrong way? Data. You're right, I put the wrong // I copied what you wrote in the chat, Maui. Data. That's kind of weird to see, but yeah, it looks comma separated. I'm fairly happy with that now. So out here, I'm going to go for passport in data, print passport just to check we've got that string. Print passports. I'm going to print a new line just to check. So just passing nothing into print will separate them line by line. So cool, that's looking very similar to what we actually had in our inputs. So I'm pretty happy with that now. So here, I just need to put these things in here instead of the prints. Oh no. Okay, so everything is true, but that's because I'm passing in my test case here instead of my passport. Don't need the test. Oh, thanks for following userman2. Okay, so I'm going to delete these test cases because I don't care about them anymore. Don't need that CID. And so there we go. True, false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Thanks, Twitch chat. Shout out to Twitch chat. I'm going to use my secret 2020 emote that no one else will have. Okay, so this is looking very cool. So it's looking promising. Finally, we need to count. So the actual answer is going to be the number of valid passports. So we just need to do that basic counter pattern, counter equals 0. I'm sure that maybe userman, you'll have a nicer way of doing this. So if it's valid, I'm just going to add it to our counter. Counter equals counter plus check pass valid, don't need that one. So yeah, in some other languages you can just do something like this, counter plus plus, but I don't think that won't work in Python. I've not found a way I like doing more than that. So now if we print counter at the end, counter, comma, valid passports. So I'm just comma separating some values in print and it just chains those together. So 2 valid passports. So now we can take our puzzle input. Not sure how many passports there are in there. It might be a nice thing to print as well there. Print len data potential passports. So I'm expecting this first half was quite easy. I'm expecting the second half to really upset me. So let's see how it goes. So we got 290 potential passports and our code thinks there are 237 valid ones. So let's give it a go. That is the right answer, viewers. Let's check it out. Another star coin unlocked. I cannot believe it. That's 7 star coins. We only got 43 more to pay for our holiday this Christmas. Oh my god, thank you very much everyone in the chat. Oh, I can't believe we've done this. I can't believe we've done this. Absolutely timeless. Oh, well done everybody. Thanks for all your help. Okay, so we still don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere because we still got the second part of the challenge, which is going to spin this on its head, maybe make it more difficult. I'm thinking that it's going to punish me for assuming that there's only going to be 7 keys I care about. So let's get back to it. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. We've still got half an hour. We've got plenty of time to solve this. Let's continue to part 2. Part 2. The line is moving more quickly now, but you overhear airport security talking about how passports with invalid data are getting through. Better add some data validation. Quick! You can continue to ignore the country ID field. Yes. But each other field has strict rules about what values are valid for automatic validation. The birth year must be between 1920 and 2002. The issue year must be, oh no, it has to be 4 digits. That's fine, we can check that by checking it's between those numbers. at least 2010 and at most 2020. The expiration year must be between 2020 and 2030. Height must be followed by centimeters or inches, and there's a range on each of those. Hair color is a hex thing, whatever, hexadecimal number. Eye color must be 1 of whatever. Passport ID must be a 9-digit number and allows leading zeros. Country ID can be ignored. Nice. Okay. They've given us some examples. Oh, that's not useful, really. This is going to be a nightmare. Okay. Okay, so we can kind of... I'm going to comment out some of that stuff from before. Let's work through these one at a time, but I think we have enough time for this. And I'm just going to send this back to our old test case just for now, and we can just let that keep running. Okay, so for each valid passport, we're going to have to check the validity of some other fields. So some of these functions we can probably group up together, but let's give them a go. So birth year, issue year, and expiration year are kind of all asking us the same thing, right? We're going to have a range. It's got to be 4 digits, but we can check that with the range anyway. So yeah, okay. So def check valid year. It's going to take a year, and we're going to have a min, and we're going to have a max. And we're going to just return min less than year less than max. At least 2010, so it's got to include equals to that min and max. Yeah, I think I've read that about right. So we can try that with check valid year, check valid year. The year, for example, could be 2025 with a min of 2020, max of 2030. That should be true, and it is. 2026 is false. Okay, so that kind of ticks our boxes for birth year, issue year, and expiration year. I don't like the sound of height. We've got an example of what height looks like. Oh yeah, we got our test one. Oh dear, don't click that. So let's see. So we can now test it with birth years. I don't like this. You know what? I'm not going to test that. Okay, so let's assume that's working for now. Height is... Okay, so we need to check that the last 2 characters are either inch or centimeters, and then we're going to have to split our path. Oh, in fact, we could actually use our check valid year and approximate that to a check valid range. So I'm just going to say X min max, get more generic. Then we can use this for our hair color. Hair color height, check valid height. That's going to take a height as a string, and we're going to check if it's inches or centimeters. So we can do this by using slice notation to get the last 2 characters of a string. So colon will give us all of them. -2, sorry, that should be -2 before the colon. We'll start the slicing at the 3rd last character. So we can just do if, actually no, let's do, what's it called? Should I even call it metric? No. What is it? What's a word for like inches or centimeters? Like, word for inches or centimeters? Like, word for inches or centimeters. Unit. Unit equals height -2, and this will always be, okay, let's do if unit equals centimeters, Then we're going to return, no it's not, is valid is false, is valid equals false. So I'm just using this outside here so that I don't return from within this if statement. So we're going to say is valid equals, and then it's true if check valid range equals check valid range. And we need the number as well, so we need unit and we need value equals height. Would that be up to -2? That's probably not quite right. Let's have a look. And that needs to be an integer. Okay. Up to valid 2. I'm going to convert it to an integer, which just means it's going to convert it from a string to a number. If it's CM, invalid syntax, because this should be a double equals for our comparison, and then we're going to say value, and our min for centimeters is 150 and our max is 193. We're going to use an elif, I think this is our first elif, equals in for inches. Then we have a different range, but otherwise it's exactly the same. So is valid, different range will be to 59 to 76. These are some tall elves. Not sure if we are elves actually. And then finally, if it doesn't contain centimeter or inches, it's invalid anyway, but that will be captured by is valid here. Return is valid. And why are you complaining? It needs an else. Does it need an else? Why are you complaining? elif equals, yes, it needs to be elif unit equals in. Is valid is false. That needs to be false with a capital F, so it knows it's a Boolean type for true or falses. And now we can call check valid height on some of our test cases. So where are those test cases? Check valid height, 60 in, valid, and 190 cm, valid. 190 inches will be too big, so it should be invalid, and 190 on its own is also invalid. So that looks good, so I'm happy with them. Next I've got hair color, so which must be a hexadecimal character. Check valid hair color, return. So this hash followed by 0 to 9 or A to F is a hex. It's kind of like a hex color code. So I'm just going to Google hex color code regex, which will basically let me detect if this is like a valid pattern of characters. Yeah, I'm not American, but I write code which is mostly American style. So they make you write color the other way, which is why I Google it the other way. So how do I do this? Can I import regex into REPL? I hope so. So I need to import the regex package, import RE. Oh dear, that's okay. So it's not complained about the import there, which is all I care about. Then we're going to check for a match with that code. Turn match search string hair color. And this all needs to be indented once. And I need def. Forgot the def. Invalid syntax. Doing a lot of invalid syntax today. What's it complaining about? Doesn't like the word hair color. What's that about? Needs to be a string. It's a string. Is it complaining because it doesn't know it's a string? R dash. No start. No start. I can't really see what it's complaining about here. Oh, I can't return like this, that's why. I need to return that. Cool, so check valid hair color. We've got some hairs we can test. Check valid hair. Paste and close the brackets. Oh, that's not good. We need to convert it to a Boolean. I think we can do that with this Boolean casting function that will convert it to a true or a false. It's not running yet. Uh-oh. Well, I can try converting that to a Boolean anyway. Oh, thanks. Check valid hair. And here we'll go our code true. Nice. Another one bites the dust. This is invalid if it's a Z, and without the hashtag, also invalid. So this stuff is all looking good. Country ID is ignored, so hair color is all good. Then we need to check eye color. Check. Oh, I did it again. Def. Check valid eye. I know there's so much to do here, but it's not too difficult. It's just a lot of stuff to do. Normally the second one's not this big, so I'm a little spooked. So we've got valid eye colors here. I'm gonna do valid colors equals a list, and to make that list I'm just gonna do this as a string dot split. I could type out the list myself, but there's no point in doing so. So if I print that now, valid colors, check valid eye. Get out of my face. Check valid eye, and just call that. Needs an eye color, but we're not using it yet, so we can just put anything there. Whoa. Oh yes. So you got to use these brown brackets to call a function. Check valid eye. 1, 2, 3. So there we go. So we've got that. And the cool thing about that is we can check that a value is in that, I believe. So if I go amb in valid colors, that should return a true. Print amb in valid colors, and it should return false if it's not in that array. Check valid I 23 true. I'm pretty confident in that. So let's return. We're going to return the eye color in valid colors. So that's eye color done. Passport ID 9-digit number including leading 0. So good trick here. This is kind of true in math. So we've got number 10,000. If you have 0, 10,000. Oh no. Well, we know that we can ignore that 0. My thinking is if I try and convert that number to an integer using casting. Oh no. What? Leading zeros are not permitted. Ignore leading zeros, Python. Okay. I don't want to move leading and trailing zeros though. I just want to remove leading zeros. lstrip. Lstrip will remove leading characters, so that's what we want to do. So we want our 10,000 dot lstrip 0. So that will return the same thing as a string, and it'll work with that. Cool, that's what I want. That's who I am. Def get, not get, check valid ppid equals ppid return. How am I going to check if this is valid? Oh, we're checking if it's 9 digits, aren't we? So we needs to be 9 digits, including those leading zeros. Why did I remove the leading zeros? We don't even need to do that. All I need to do is check. Have I made an assumption that's wrong there? 9-digit number including leading zeros. So that doesn't mean anything. We just need to check that it's 9 digits long. So we just need to check that the ppid is equal to 9. The length of it is equal to 9. So just to show that working here, length on this one doesn't work because it's not a string, but it will be a string when we read it in, so it's okay. Length there is 10. So I think that's us done-ish. So we've got all of our sort of helper functions. We just need to tie it all together now. Gosh, there's a lot going on here. Okay. And we can wrap that all together. So now what we need to do is take our existing check passport is valid. So I'm going to call this check passport valid part 1. And instead I'm going to make a part 2 that we're going to call at the bottom here. So I'm basically going to use the same hack. I'm going to check if I have these 7 keys. But before I check, instead of checking for 7 keys, I'm going to convert them all to a true or false value, and then I'm just going to add up those true or falses. So true is actually equal to a 1. So if you do true plus true, we get 2. True plus false, you'll get 1. So we can use this to sort of just go through them all, add them all up. So at this point, we've removed CID. We need to check that. We need to basically pass all of our values through all of these functions that we've just written. So check valid range for birth year. Man, this doesn't feel right, but I think I'm just going to overwrite them all. So I'm going to go like dict pass birth year. I could really do with printing out a dictionary for myself. What did we call those? Dict pass. I call it data. So let's do data 0 just to see 1. And that's just so I can see what these are called. So birth year is going to be equal to check valid range, and our condition there is 1920 to 2002. So I'm going to pass in 1920, 2002. And then I'm going to return the sum of the keys. So I'm going to do list dict pass dot keys. No, I'm not, dot values, which will get the values. Convert them to a list, and then I'm going to sum those. So I'm going to print them before I do that, just so I can read out what's going on. Dict pass, and I'm going to call check passport valid. Just going to drag this way down to the bottom. And we're going to call check passport valid part 2. You can use the lambda assigned to variable if you want to condense the validation functions. Lambda assigned to variable. If you got an example, I'll happily do it. To variable. Is this Python? Python. What the heck does that do? You may have to do an example for the birth. Do an example for this one for me. Tell me about it. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this, but I'm sure. I don't know. Sorry, user man, my head's too much in it. If you write one for birth year, I might get it, and I'll adjust them all. So birth year. I'm just going to copy these temporarily. So we've got birth year, issue year. Oh, birth year's fine. Year. Yeah, that would have been good too. That would have saved me some functions. Yeah, that's true. I guess some of them are slightly more complicated, but none of them were that bad. I think once I saw check valid height, it made me not want to do anything simple like that. But you're right, I should do that. So this should be 2010 to 2020. And then expiration year should be 2020 to 2030. Okay, so we got that. So if I run it now, and nothing works because they're not integers. So I need to convert to integers within our check valid range function. So this just needs an integer wrapped around it. Yeah, for sure, it would have saved me time. Ooh. Unsupported type, line 77. So it's not letting us sum, but that's because they're not all strings at the moment, but they will be. So let's not return anything for a second. Don't let me forget I commented that line out, okay? String integer for none type, for passport and data, counter equals counter plus, because we're not returning anything. Okay, so I do need to return, just return 0 for now. Key error, birth year. Birth year's there. Check valid range, dict pass, birth year, line 72. Dict pass is correct in here. Key error, birth year, why are you complaining? Is this because I don't check that that key exists before I try to access it? Do we have an example without a birth year maybe? Gosh, this is going to be a lot. So if birth year in dict pass, we can't really, this is losing some elegance very quickly. We can't really afford to check if there's a birth year in there each time, but because we're going to have to do this for each key. Again, I'm open to suggestions on this because this doesn't look right either. Okay, so now it's printing them as it finds them. It's replaced birth year with true to say if they're successful. So next we need to do check valid height. Yeah, no more help. We've got like 5 minutes left though. I think we might just get it done as long as we don't make any mistakes. Hee. What's height called? Do I even have heights? Height, Huggeter. Huggeter, we don't want to use check valid range, we want to use check valid height. Valid height, take the height, which it does. So that should overwrite height for us. So height is now true. Next we want to do hair color, eye color, passport ID. Hair color. Thanks. Wowie. Panicking now. Eye color. PPID. So if hair color hey, I don't think you're doing anything wrong, Userman2. I think it's me panicking more than anything else. If I wasn't doing this as a fun coding stream, I would probably be like, there's got to be a better way, and then I would seriously Google for it, but I feel like Googling something that generic is going to take me a long time. Right, that looks good. Good. Looks very good. Eye color next. Oh no. I indented wrong there. Eye color, if eye color, blah blah poopy. Eye color. I've been teaching a lot of children recently and they keep saying poopy. But it's better than saying anything rude, I suppose. Check valid. Check valid eye. And then finally check PPID. Which again would normally make me laugh, but I've been teaching a lot of children. PPID. PID. Check valid PPID. Okay, now I can return this sum instead. "26 valid passports" is not what it should be saying there. Ooh. There's definitely not 26 valid passports, so that's not right. What am I doing there? Counter, because my counter is used twice in this code? No. Why are you so big? Valid passports. Oh no, that's definitely not right. Because it's returning the function, and it shouldn't be returning the function, it should be, sorry, it's returning the sum, it should be returning if that sum is equal to 7. 2 valid passports, everything else is good, we can get rid of those prints now. Okay, hey, so the test case is working, that's nice. And they've sent some invalid passports and some valid passports nicely, so we'll test those out. 0 valid passports, this should be 4 valid passports. Ooh, with 2 minutes to go. Entry is optional in my batch file, so I'm going to grab that part, this input again, but oh yeah, some stuff needs to be converted to integers. So what lines are we complaining about? 82. Which is height, line to 45. So some stuff needs to be converted to an integer here. Where is it? Huh? Valid literal for int with base 10 empty. Okay, this can't run if no, it can't do it, that's why. I need to do this in here. So int value. Actually, let's do it in check valid range because that should always. Oh. Huh, okay. Thanks, previous me. 1 minute left to go, so we got time for one submission, 152 valid passports. Flip. Oh dear. What's happened there? 152 valid passports. I'm going to assume that it's something I just did there with the integers isn't quite right. So let's put that back in and let's try and deal with that case. Okay, so line 55. So when it's getting this string with nothing, could I just do else? No, it's that conversion that might be the problem, but I don't know how we're going to track this one down. Shoot. Okay, well, we're just about out of time, but let's see if we can figure something out here. So let's print out whatever height we're getting past here and see if we can find the problem. So we probably have, we have something invalid, a 69. That's crashing this value. Yeah, I'm only giving myself 1 hour for each one, but I'll keep going for a couple more minutes because I feel like we're probably very close. I'm gonna go watch there's another comedy live stream happening at 8 that I'm gonna go watch. Right, so when we get 69 only, the unit, so this can't be converted to an integer. So it's going to get blank. So if it's not that and it's not that, it should still be invalid. So that should be okay. Oh, it's really, okay, we're going to have to check all those test cases basically. Let's just make sure I did copy everything as well. Yeah. Right. So we've got these. We got all our passwords valid and correct though. That's kind of annoying. I'm really worried I've just like set. Was there something I like said I should uncomment later that I didn't? Full password in there. Counter checking if sum is 7. Could that be incorrect? Let's print the password. Let's print these dicks again. Print dict pass. And this could be anything though. I'm not confident here. Maybe we should print them before and after. I'm just really, you know, there could just be one little thing that we've missed here, or the ranges are slightly different to what I'm expecting. And let's stop printing those heights because I think that's okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why are there 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That might just have one missing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Why are there 8? My valid pass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But that has a country ID which we delete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why did they all have 6? They should have 7. These might be invalid passports though, so I need to print out this as well. Print. And at least I can see which ones I'm saying are correct. So this one is correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shoot. So what am I doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 is right. We could just be getting one thing wrong here though, and it's not clear what that is. Let's check the valid height. Yeah, but they're returned as false anyway, so they should be okay. The 6 ones aren't valid, I don't think. Count the number of valid that have all required fields and valid values. So if it has 6, it's not correct, but we're checking that it should have 6. 60 in. Yeah, we checked this already, didn't we? This should be fine. So right on the boundaries is okay. really scared that I've just missed something. So birth years should be between 1920 and 2002. At least 2010 to 2020, 2020 to 2030 for the expiration year. Passport IDs. So let's see if we can figure out why some of these false ones are false. So eye color X-ray shouldn't be a valid eye color, which it isn't. Issue year here is 1959, which is an invalid issue year. Man, this is tricky. This could just be like an edge case, and we'll just never see it though. Let's try printing. Let's do some better printing here. So let's try printing birth years. And let's see if predict birth year. And let's do it at the top as well. Oh, it might not exist, but we'll see. So it'll crash if it doesn't exist, but at least we can check. And the birth years can be between 1920 and 2002. Why? Oh, some of them don't exist. Why is it saying false sometimes? It's not saying false because they don't exist, so that's kind of worrying me. Birth year 1969, birth year. Check valid range. It's converting it to an integer. Print x min max. So where is it? I guess what's it printing false here for? Sometimes I'll have a look and I'll see if I can fix it, but I think I'm gonna have to leave this one. Really annoying though, because I'm sure it's gonna be some like little thing that we've missed. But I'll ask around on the Reddits and stuff and see what we get. Put it 153. It's worth a try. It's not the right answer. It does say too low as well. It's the right answer for someone else. Weird. Alright, well, I'm going to leave it there. I'll still tweet it out and stuff, but we'll see. If I fix it, I'll tweet out what I changed. The counter looks good to me. There's nothing else I'm incrementing the counter. Counter, that's returning true or false and adding those true or falses up. Yeah, I think it's got to just be something is slipping through somewhere. Can I stop? I can't bring myself to stop now because I feel like it's got to just be so close. I'm messing up my code now as well. Print dict pass. Print dict pass. let me see if I can find a case where the hair color is not correct. Hair color. How can I not search the right hand side? Annoying. Right, I'm just looking for a case where hair color is false because I've not checked that. Oh. Nah. I don't know what the subreddit name is. Let me have a look at the subreddit. reddit.com/r/advent of code. Might have a good one. Wow, there's memes here. There's advent of code. And they had some realistic. Wowie. People have done some cool stuff in here, huh? Anyway, I'll have a look at those comments. You don't need to watch me do this. But I'll see if I can figure it out. But yeah, that's everything for today. Like I said, check out the Escape the North Twitch. I'll send that again. I'll be bashing about in there, probably trying to fix this code while I'm at it. But check it out. There'll be some comedy, IT consultancy type stuff going on in there. Let's cut to that. Thanks for watching screen. See you later, everybody.